and welcome back to this week's video. If you're new here, I'm Serenity and I'm so happy to have you here. This week we're going to be recreating crumble cookies. I love crumble, but let's be honest, their prices are a little steep. So today we're testing out 3 recipes to see if we can make some cookies just as good at home. And as always, I'll have the recipes linked in the description box below. Okay, let's dive in. First up, we're recreating the confetti cake cookie, and spoiler alert, this one was my favorite. We're going to start by combining our butter, sugar, and brown sugar in a bowl. Mix it until it's smooth, then add in your egg, vanilla, and cake batter extract. Once that's all combined, toss in your flour, baking soda, and salt, and lastly, add in your sprinkles. To get that crumble-sized cookie, I made my cookies a little bigger than what the recipe calls for. Each cookie weighed about 116 grams and made 8 total cookies. You don't have to use a scale, but if you want your cookies to look uniform, I highly suggest. We're going to bake our cookies at 350 degrees for 12 minutes. But since my cookies were bigger, I did add an extra 2 minutes to the bake time. While those cookies are baking, let's get started on our next batch, which is Churro swirl cookies, and these are so good. We're going to combine our butter, sugar, and brown sugar in a bowl, then add in your egg and vanilla extract. Mix that all together, and then add your flour, baking soda, salt, and cinnamon. Once your dough has come together, scoop out your cookies and roll them in a cinnamon sugar mixture. I made a total of 8 cookies, each about 103 grams, but feel free to make them smaller or bigger depending on what you prefer. And we're going to pop them in the oven at 350 for 12 minutes. The confetti cake cookies are finally done, and they made the house smell so yummy, and they are so delicious. Now for the final cookie. This one's a bit of a twist. I'm making a Biscoff tiramisu cookie, and this isn't actually a crumble flavor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm recreating it in that signature crumble style. The lighting also looks a little different because I am filming this for Instagram as well, but let's get started. Start by mixing your butter, sugar, brown sugar until it's nice and smooth, then add your egg, vanilla extract, and instant coffee and mix everything together. After that, stir in your flour, baking soda, baking powder, cinnamon, and salt. For these cookies, I weighed them out to around 95 grams each, and I baked them at 350 for 10 to 12 minutes, depending on how big you make them. Next, let's make the frosting. You will need mascarpone, cheese, whipping cream, powdered sugar, and vanilla extract. Whisk it all together until it's nice and creamy. Since I'm filming this for Instagram, I am showing you this frosting part now, but I will be storing it in the fridge until tomorrow when our cookies are done cooling and ready to be frosted. Our cookies are finally ready to be frosted. Let's start with the confetti cake cookie. For this frosting, in a bowl, combine your butter, vanilla extract, food coloring, and powdered sugar. Mix it all together until it's smooth, and make sure the consistency isn't too thick or too thin. I don't have any fancy frosting tips, so I'm using what I've got. I am doing a swirl design, but feel free to frost these however you like, and of course, don't forget to add your sprinkles. This cookie here actually broke, so I got to do a little taste testing, and it was absolutely delicious. Moving on to our Churro swirl cookie is basically the same process but with 1 extra cup of powdered sugar and melted butter and cinnamon. I found this frosting a little dry, so I did add in 2 tablespoons of milk to get the right consistency. I did the same swirl design for these and I topped them off with Biscoff crumbs. They're really starting to look like crumble cookies to me. As for the last cookie, they didn't turn out quite how I thought they would. If I were to make them again, I'd probably chill the dough for 30 minutes to an hour because the dough was super soft. So if you plan on making these cookies, definitely chill your dough for at least 30 minutes. But they still turned out super delicious. They just don't have that thick crumble texture. To finish these off, I sprinkled some cocoa powder and added a Biscoff cookie on top. We're getting down to our last 2 weeks here in Montana, and I thought it would be nice to give Ben's coworkers one last treat before we leave, since they were asking for more sweets after the Valentine's Day treats. I think these 3 cookies definitely capture that crumble feel, and it just goes to show that you can totally recreate these at home. I hope this gives you some baking inspiration, and if you try making these, let me know in the comments how they turned out for you. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.